Here is your profit briefing. I'm Eleazar Bhatti for the Profit here in Lahore. NEPRA has been asked to increase the electricity tariff by 1 rupee and 93 paisas, pushing the 26.5 billion rupee burden over to the end consumers. But more on this later. First, some business and economic stories that you should know. The government has waived off 208 billion rupees worth of GIDC through a presidential ordinance. Meanwhile, the money had already been collected over the past 5 years.
The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government has waived off approximately 208 billion rupees worth Gas Infrastructure Development Cess (GIDC) through a presidential ordinance, while this amount had already been collected from poor farmers and the masses during the last 5 years, Profit learned on Thursday. Surprisingly, this amount was to be deposited to the National Exchequer to develop the Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline project, Turkmenistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan-India TAPI gas project, and for the development of other energy-related projects. However, the PTI government has given waiver to influential owners of fertilizer plants, CNG stations, power plants through a presidential ordinance. Also, after the waiver of 208 billion rupees, the rates of surcharge for the companies will also be decreased by 50% as President Arif Alvi has approved amendments in the GIDC Act.
According to Prime Minister's advisor Nadeem Babar, the PTI government is all set to introduce a new LNG policy in order to reduce imports and increase domestic production.
Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Petroleum Nadeem Babar on Thursday said that a new policy on liquefied natural gas (LNG) would be announced next month, as the government has decided to abolish several unnecessary regulations to facilitate investment in the petroleum sector of the country. He said that a tax relaxation would be provided for upgrading old refineries and installing new ones, adding that a new policy had been prepared to increase domestic production of LNG and decrease its imports, and that an LPG pricing mechanism was also to be introduced. He said that anyone wishing to set up an LNG terminal for private consumption would not require government approvals.
The work on Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline is set to be completed by the year 2024. As Pakistan and Iran put their differences aside and are set to sign a new agreement to finish the work.
Pakistan and Iran have decided to complete the Iran-Pakistan IP gas pipeline project by 2024, and in this regard, a third agreement will be signed in Turkey during next week between Iran's National Iranian Oil Company and Pakistan's interstate gas system. According to sources, Pakistan and Iran will sign the Iran-Pakistan IP gas pipeline project amendment agreement number 3 during the next week in Istanbul. They said that a principal decision to withdraw the legal notice by Iran was made during the Prime Minister's visit to Iran in April, as the Special Assistant to the PM on Petroleum had held meetings with his Iranian counterpart on the sidelines of the visit, and the Iranian side had expressed its intentions to withdraw the notice if the agreement on extension of the gas sales and purchase agreement was finalized.
Now back to our main story. The Central Power Purchasing Agency has asked NEPRA to increase electricity tariffs by 1 rupee and 93 paisas.
If the request is approved, an additional burden of 26.5 billion would be transferred to the end consumers. Pakistan agreed with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to hike the electricity tariff on the quarterly adjustment basis beginning from this month, according to an IMF report issued in July. Eliminating power sector losses on a sustainable basis will require both new pricing policies and improvements in governance and the infrastructure, the IMF said in its report. There are three main sources of arrears in the power sector: effective tariffs below the required levels and only approved with significant delays, implicit subsidies provided by the government that have long remained unbudgeted, and technical and distribution losses. The authorities aim to address the first two sources in the near term, while preparing a plan to tackle the third source of arrears over the course of the program, the report stated.
This is your profit briefing. Thank you for joining us on the show today. For all the latest business, economic and financial news, visit www.profit.com.pk. This is Eleazar Bhatti for The Profit here in Lahore.